to Eagle News International Australia Oceania. This is Ronsel Janti Castro from Canberra, bringing you stories from Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. For the headlines, Australia ensures COVID-19 safety with the easing restrictions in major areas. New South Wales lightens coronavirus restrictions for dining outdoors. Schools in Papua New Guinea resume in-person learning. COVID-19 heightens need for improving mental health and self-care amongst moms. Be Kind Walk in Townsville continues to advocate mental health awareness. Church of Christ in Papua New Guinea conduct an Aid to Humanity for community outreach. Online Up Shop opens in Melbourne in support of sustainable shopping. And amateur photographers capture daily inspiration ideas in snapshots. Starting off with the latest COVID-19 updates in Australia. Businesses, facilities, services, and the nation's citizens are severely impacted with the implemented restrictions due to the onset of COVID-19. However, as case counts continue to remain at a steady low, the easing of restrictions are now being observed. Here's Eliza Ventura, our Eagle News correspondent in Townsville, to share more details. Eliza?
Australia continues to face the challenges of COVID-19. As of last week, there has been a nationwide total of almost 27,500 cases, majority of which is accounted from the state of Victoria, reaching an estimated 74%, followed by the states of New South Wales and Queensland, with notably only a few cases recorded. However, a remarkable 90% of the total cases has recovered from the disease. Now that the rate of COVID-19 has slowed down, the restrictions are now being eased by stages. It was around late January of this year when the first COVID-19 case has reached the shores of Australia. From then on, numerous cases emerged in an exponential rate. A series of restrictions were then implemented in stages in an attempt to flatten the curve. A few months back, the state of Victoria was placed in very strict COVID-19 restrictions due to the second influx of cases that emerged from the state. As the situation now improves, changes are being made to ease the restrictions. Metropolitan Melbourne is now on its second step of restrictions. Residents are now allowed to travel a maximum of 25 kilometers from home. A maximum of 10 people in a group are permitted to socialize, exercise, and enjoy the outdoors together. Furthermore, people whose jobs involve the outdoors are now able to return to work. Meanwhile, regional Victoria is now in the third step of restrictions. The previous restrictions were now eased to allow facilities such as libraries, restaurants, and cafes to open with limitations on the number of people in attendance. Outdoor religious gatherings are now allowed for up to 20 people and one faith leader. These are just a few of the restrictions being lifted in Victoria. On the other hand, the states of New South Wales and Queensland have eased the restrictions by increasing the maximum number of people in one place and easing of travel bans. In New South Wales, there's a limit of up to 30 people for outdoor gatherings and hospitality venues. Religious gatherings are now allowed to have 300 people as long as it follows the 4 square meter rule and a COVID safety plan in place. Also, travelers from New Zealand are not required to quarantine as long as they have not been in a New Zealand COVID-19 hotspot in the past 14 days. For the state of Queensland, social gatherings of up to 40 participants in homes and public venues are now permitted. A maximum of 40 people at any one time can now dance in a wedding that follows a COVID-safe plan. Year 12 students who are graduating this year can celebrate, dance, and enjoy their school-based formals. Lastly, Aged care residents are now allowed to leave their facilities for recreation and social purposes in non-restricted areas. Despite the easing of restrictions, communities are still encouraged to maintain social distancing, practice proper hygiene, and follow all regulations implemented to ensure COVID-19 safety. From Townsville, Australia, this is Alyssa Ventura. Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Thank you, Eliza. We are relieved that the restrictions in the country are now being eased. Still here in Australia, Sydney is renowned for the multicultural and diverse dining scene, with food and hospitality industry booming in the very heart of the city. Gradually, with the government-approved standards, food establishments are now welcoming back more people for a dining experience. After the lockdown, restrictions forced them to either cease or limit operations. Our correspondent in Sydney, Shane Reyes, will fill us in with more details. Shane?
From Friday, October 16, New South Wales entertainment venues and restaurants with an outdoor section have relaxed restrictions regarding the capacity of people allowed to dine and attend. As the restrictions have been eased by the state government, these outdoor venues can now accommodate more guests and customers. Businesses that use electronic QR code systems are now able to adopt a 2 square metre seating arrangement for their outdoor venues, which is half the distance of the current indoor seating restriction set at 4 square metres. From the 23rd of October, restaurant group bookings and social gatherings increased from 20 to 30 people, and the maximum number of individuals allowed to be seated together will increase from 10 to 30, with the continued practice of physical distancing and wearing a mask indoors. Businesses located in areas such as the Rocks and the CBD have already started to trial the government's new initiative to utilise the city's laneways, paths, car parks and small roads to make room for more outdoor seating areas to cope with existing indoor capacity restrictions. The revised changes come from the government's plan to help boost economic trade and to provide some relief for struggling businesses in the hospitality industry.
During COVID, they've reduced the amount of people going to restaurants by 10. For example, small businesses, they rely on a lot of people coming in to make money. And if you only allow 10 people in, there's just barely enough money for the business to survive. If they did some easing, if they allow more people in, for example, 10 to maybe 20 people in restaurants, they'll bring in more money. And more money means they can keep their own business afloat.
Gym facilities will also undergo a minor change in which the presence of a COVID safety marshal will only be needed where there are more than 20 people within the establishment. As these events are expected to see a surge in large amounts of people attending, the 4 square metre rule will still apply indoors. These restrictions are being lifted in accordance to the few amounts of new cases that have been found throughout the state. It is imperative that the protocols set by authorities are followed in order to avoid new cases from arising. Reporting from Sydney, Australia, this is Shane Reyes, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Many thanks for that, Shane. That's good news for the avid diners indeed. After a period of homeschooling via online, students are now back to in-person learning whilst adapting to the new normal to ensure a COVID-safe environment. Our Port Moresby correspondent Echo Hortaleza Pinola has more on this story. Echo?
Students in Papua New Guinea are now fully adjusted with the new normal. They are physically back to classrooms with class schedules at 8 hours per day, 5 times a week.
The difficulties related to COVID-19 have impacted students in their daily school routine. For some time, they were engaged in homeschooling through online programs, at the same time coping with the restrictions while staying indoors. However, students are back to the classroom setting and have completely adjusted to their regular 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. schedules from Monday to Friday, something that they have been looking forward to: classroom teaching and interactions with their beloved teachers, classmates, and friends. We've learned that students prefer in-person learning rather than homeschooling simply because they can personally interact with the teachers, especially at times when lessons need clarification and students need more guidance.
In the classroom, because it is a one-to-one thing where you are there to see how the children is learning, and you have time to take them to the side and you can talk to them or help them a little bit more further. Having to have children inside the classroom is also, it has disadvantages and advantages, but comparing both of them, I would prefer the children in the classroom because as a teacher, I'm watching every child and I know that they are doing the work themselves and not being sent away or them having lessons online where I do not know who is doing their work, and also I may not know the child, the person.
According to the teachers, transitioning to online learning posed a major challenge both to them and to the students, as the learners inevitably fall behind in meeting their deadlines. School administrations are working together with the national government to come up with effective ways in ensuring the quality of education that all students need in this time of global health crisis, yet ensuring the advancement of their education and future careers.
It's good to know that students are back doing in-person learning. But as we are facing an ever-changing world, it doesn't hurt exploring alternative learning options for our education system to pursue. After all, we are one in the hope of giving the young generation the best education they can get to secure a bright future. Reporting from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Many thanks, Echo. We are glad that the students are happy to be back with their peers and teachers. Back here in Australia, COVID-19 is really taking its toll on our mental well-being. Mothers especially are compelled to find ways to reduce anxiety and care for their mental health while making sure that they make ends meet despite the pandemic. Let's hear more from our Sydney correspondent, Diana Pedro. Diana?
Taking care of oneself is a very significant part of managing our mental well-being, and this is more so highlighted by the spread of COVID-19. The World Health Organization website cites a study in Ethiopia in April 2020 which found a threefold increase in the prevalence of symptoms of depression compared pre-epidemic. Furthermore, both WHO and the Australian Government Department of Health notes that women have higher chances of going through depression and anxiety than men, particularly those who are juggling responsibilities at home and family while in a work-from-home setup. I wonder what my fellow moms' thoughts are about self-care. Let's hear from them. It's a very timely discussion because according to the Australian Government National Mental Health Commission, the World Mental Health Week falls in October. Amy Taroha is a mom to a 4-year-old. She shares how important self-care is for her.
Self-care is very important to moms like me. By taking care of ourselves, we are able to regain and recharge the physical and mental energy that we need to fulfill our duties and to take care of our own households.
Kaz's thoughts are along the same line. Caroline Kasupang, or Kaz to her friends, is a full-time mom and a student from Papua New Guinea.
There's a saying that goes like something like, you can't pour from an empty cup, because only when everything's right with me, like I said, I can then cater to my family and take care of my family to, the best way I can.
As mentioned, because of COVID-19, it is now fitting more than ever to emphasize the importance of self-care and mental health. Emmy shares how she keeps her mental health in check during this period of uncertainties.
As much as possible, I try to get enough rest and sleep to nourish my body and to be able to focus effectively. I indulge myself for some quality time, such as having breakfast dates with my husband when our kid is at school, doing some window shopping, and taking some time for relaxation.
Anna Divina Watson, a mom to a 20-year-old, sees the quarantine from a positive perspective, as staying at home with family benefited her self-care opportunities.
Because at work sometimes you tend to miss lunch or take a break, and family is great that way because they annoy you until you get off your desk and make you eat.
Anna also turns to her pet cat, Mellow. Or perhaps the cat turns to her when she feels the need to de-stress.
So I think one of our house cats have taken it as her responsibility to make me get off my work desk by jumping on it and covering the keyboard as well as my screen. So it makes me stop work and pay a bit more attention to her.
Kaz walks as an exercise. When the pandemic hit, the restrictions did not stop her from her routine. As she couldn't go out far, she turned to their driveway. Kaz advises how the little things family and friends can do make a difference in mom's self-care activities.
For example, my husband will let me help me sleep in an extra hour or two some mornings if he's not working. He wakes up with the kids, takes them out of the room, shuts the door, and just lets me sleep. And that puts me in a really good mood for the rest of the day. It goes a long, long way.
From Sydney, Australia, this is Diana Pedro, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
After the break, we learn about a walk for a cause held in Townsville to promote strengthening mental health. Also, the Church of Christ members in Papua New Guinea continue to reach out to the community through the Aid to Humanity program. Plus, an online op shop opens in Melbourne in support of sustainable shopping. And we will know how amateur photographers capture their daily inspiration ideas in snapshots. All these stories when Eagle News International Australia Oceania returns. Stay tuned. Heading now to Townsville in Queensland, Australia. Mental health is being promoted through the annual Be Kind Walk, laboring to abolish the stigma that mental health issues pose. Advocates and walkers have gathered once again to support the cause this year. Morgan Goodfellow, our correspondent from Townsville, witnessed the event to give us the full story. Morgan?
The annual Be Kind Walk took place last week in Townsville, Queensland in Australia, hosting hundreds of people to appreciate and support mental health awareness. Taking care of our mental health, especially in this time of crisis, is crucial. Social distancing has left us feeling isolated and anxious with minimal resources to exercise our emotional well-being. By knowing what to do if you begin to feel symptoms of sickness and knowing where to get help is a good way to relieve some of the mental stress caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Checking self-help websites would somehow help one to cope with emotional stresses. Connecting with people via online conversations, phone calls and mail are also great ways to keep one's mind at ease from the anxiety caused by the pandemic.
I mean, we've all gone through periods in our lives and some people day to day, some people month to month, year to year of kind of struggling mentally. I think coronavirus is a prime example. I think a lot of people have suffered mentally with that.
Be Kind was funded by Amy Simmons, who began supporting mental health awareness after experiencing the struggle herself in 2017. Be Kind aims to overcome mental illness by means of engaging the community through projects, merchandise, and most importantly, promoting kindness.
Yes, I'm the founder of Be Kind.
Be Kind?
Yep.
And how did that begin?
It started after my own experience with mental ill health, and not long after I thought, how do I give back to the community? And this is how it was started.
The annual Be Kind Walk is a highlight every year. The event began with a few warm-up Zumba exercises to loosen the limbs. Then, making their way up from the Jazeen barracks, the walkers marched their way down through the Strand, conveying the dreadful stigma around mental health. The walk would accumulate 5 kilometres before returning from where the walkers began to end the evening with a movie that was to be displayed on an outdoor theatre for everyone to enjoy. The atmosphere of people marching as one expressed a passionate interest in showing support to many people who are suffering from mental health issues.
It's a small fundraiser and a little get-together for Mental Health Week, raising awareness of just kind of mental well-being and support for each other and those that are suffering from mental illness.
Okay, and what?
So this is the Be Kind Walk. I believe we're walking from here down to the D in the middle of the Strand and back.
Okay.
And so it's in promotion of mental health awareness.
Right.
And just making sure that we're being kind to each other.
Right.
Be Kind continues to advocate its cause through a wide range of projects within the local Townsville community, including school visitations and selling merchandise all over Australia and overseas to sustain their operations. Reporting from Townsville, Australia, this is Morgan Goodfellow, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Morgan. It's truly encouraging to see how passionate the communities are in boosting mental health. Despite the difficulties of COVID-19, members of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo continue to reach out to the communities through the Aid to Humanity program. Our correspondent, Echo Hortaleza Penola, is back to share more of this inspiring story. Echo?
A back-to-back Aid to Humanity activity was rolled out by the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo or the Church of Christ in Papua New Guinea. The community outreach benefited the disadvantaged population of Ley City and Port Moresby.
As the second largest province of Papua New Guinea, the residents of Ley City time and time again took part in the Aid to Humanity conducted by the members of the Church of Christ. Food parcels were distributed to the underprivileged families to help ease their daily sustenance. The church members have been consistently organizing Aid to Humanity programs in this region for several years now.
Whenever you possibly can, do good to those who need it. That is the reason why we are conducting Aid for Humanity program here in Ley City, Papua New Guinea, to help the people, our countrymen, our fellow men, those who are in need, especially during this time of COVID-19 crisis.
Meanwhile, in the capital city of Papua New Guinea, Port Moresby, the Filipino Association of Papua New Guinea, FAPNANG, awarded a Certificate of Appreciation to the Iglesia ni Cristo or the Church of Christ in recognition of their generosity in building a temporary shelter to serve as a quarantine facility for COVID-19 patients. Led by Brother Hino Malangan Jr., the resident minister in Port Moresby, the Church of Christ members accepted this valuable recognition.
Sa atas po ng ating pinakamamahal na tagapamahalang pangkalahatan, ang kapatid na Eduardo V. Manalo, at sa pagkabay ng tagapangasiwa ng distrito ng Australia West, ang kapatid na Romeo Beltran, na pagkaisahan po ng mga kapatid na tulungan po ang mga kababayan nating Pilipino dito po sa Port Moresby. Marami po sa kanila ay nawalan po ng trabaho. Ang iba po ay lumabis na po ang kanilang kontrata o yung visa. Kaya ang mga kapatid ay nagtulong-tulong para matulungan sila sa mga pangangailangan nila araw-araw dahil sila po ay naghihintay pa ng kanilang pagbabalik sa ating sariling bansa.
With the leadership of the supervising minister in Australia West, Brother Romeo Beltran, the charitable works of the Church of Christ truly flourished in Papua New Guinea. The church members tirelessly touched and inspired the lives of the indigent people in this region, as told by the recipients of the various aid to humanity activities carried out through the years. Reporting from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Many thanks for that heartwarming story, Echo. Who doesn't love a good bargain while at the same time supporting sustainable shopping? Especially in these pressing times, buyers are opting for more gain out of their money spent. Here's an interesting story from our correspondent Samantha Danilo of an online op shop opened in Melbourne, promoting good buys while shopping sustainably. Fill us in, Samantha.
Fast fashion has taken the world by storm, with retailers trying to keep up with the latest fashion trends straight off the runway at Fashion Week, recreating designer looks at a budget price. The problem with fast fashion is the byproduct generated by creating these garments, a byproduct generated from textile factories in countries that produce fast fashion items in mass is untreated wastewater. It contains substances like lead, mercury, arsenics that are extremely harmful to aquatic and human life. Wastewater from clothes factories are dumped directly into rivers, which exacerbates the already growing pollution problem. Sustainable clothing, on the other hand, is better for the environment. Purchasing fair trade produced clothing, buying second-hand, recycling, upcycling, and donating clothes to charity are a helpful way to reduce pollution and waste. Purchasing items second-hand is a great way to extend the shelf life of pieces already made and save money while you're at it. Gem from Gem's Op Shop, an online store in Melbourne, Australia, has a great passion for pre-loved and vintage items. Let's hear from her.
Gem's Op Shop is basically an online shopping experience, and we provide clothing that's from different eras. So if we have vintage clothing as well as modern or current trends. So I wanted to do something like this for about a decade or more ago, but I did not have the knowledge to do so properly. And technology and especially social media has boomed the past couple of years, so it's made this whole experience a lot more smoother. Then I came across some Instagram profiles and I got intrigued, and they seemed to have success in what they were doing, and they were putting out really quality stuff, and I thought, I could do that. I could give this a red hot go and busy during this time, as well as maybe earn some income in the process. So some items are from my mother's and my mother-in-law's personal collection. It could be from overseas travels or local adventures. It could be as well with the intention of buying it for someone else, appreciating that, someone would love something like this instead of it just being thrown out or discarded. I keep finding new favorites. So lately I've been loving finding vintage pieces for my daughter, and I didn't know that they were around because you can't find things like that for children so easily in the shops nowadays. What I'm wearing now, I love this dress. It's pastels, it's very me, and I've never seen anything like it in the shops. So better for the environment. It takes natural energy to make clothes. All the clothes that we wear, it takes a lot of effort from humans and from our own environment, and it takes a special and simple way to get behind the movement. I want to have fun, which is what's been happening. I want to provide beautiful clothing and hopefully change some mindsets in the process, that buying secondhand is grand.
Rather than buying something completely new, consider op shopping or thrift shopping. You'll never know what kind of gems you'll find. Reporting from Eagle News International, I'm Samantha Danilo, Sydney, Australia. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Samantha. Sustainable shopping is really something worth checking out. Mastering a new skill these days allows us to keep the positivity in our daily routines. Different scenes unfold to us every day. So why not capture these things that we see and indulge in basic photography? Our Melbourne correspondent, Daryl Castillejos, will share inspiring ideas on framing moments in a snap. Go ahead, Daryl.
Photography is one of, if not the most widely known and used form of media arts in these times where the use of technology is prominent. Where countless of people share their daily lives in photos, it is also a place where a number of photographers, ranging from professionals to beginners, as well as amateur photographers such as myself, gather and share their work. That it gives them inspiration not only for themselves, but for other people who love photography as well. In an age where everything happens online, it is no surprise that it's also where people share a piece of their life in the form of media arts, whether it be what they ate, what clothes they are wearing, or places they've been to. Just a click on their phone and the world can see it. For people who work in the field of photography, posting their work online also allows them to share their skills and be recognized for it. However, there are also a group of people who are beginners in photography or people who enjoy it as a hobby. This group of people are called amateur photographers. A sunset by the beach, a breathtaking scenery, or a city filled with crowded people, much like professional photographers, amateur photographers capture scenes and moments that gives them ideas and inspirations to keep. Despite some amateurs who may not have received formal study in photography, with only a basic knowledge on how to take pictures, it's already a great tool for them when taking photos and editing them. And as long as they have the passion for it, they can also have the skill to capture beautiful and magnificent images that can be on par with professionals even though they are amateurs. Online platforms such as Instagram is a place where a number of amateur photographers mostly share their work with the world. This allows them to post their works whatever and whenever they want without pressure. Sometimes, amateur photographers can also become freelance photographers, where they can be self-employed, allowing them to manage and control their works while still maintaining it as a hobby. Whether you are a professional or an amateur using either high-end or standard cameras, or simply someone who enjoys taking photos with their phones, what's important is capturing sceneries and moments that inspire you, or memories that you want to preserve. Especially in these times where a lot of things are limited, a photo is one way to look back on all of the things you have seen and experienced, and in this way can give you more ideas in what to capture the next time you hold your camera. Reporting from Melbourne, Australia, this is Daryl Castillejos, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Many thanks for that, Daryl. Now we can all be aspiring photographers with what you've shared. And that closes our program for today. Thank you for watching Eagle News International Australia Oceania. Join us again next week as we share more stories from our bureaus across Australia, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea. Visit our website on eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on twitter.com/eaglenews and on facebook.com/eaglenews. Stay safe, stay strong, and take care everyone. From the nation's capital, Canberra, Australia, I am Ronzo Jan T. Castro, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.